following is a presentation of KSL Sports. Hello, Cougar Nation.
Handoff middle. First down. Touchdown. And listen to the Cougar Nation.
Every Monday night, we break down the Cougars' last game and look ahead to next week. Cougar Nation, brought to you by Central Bank. Here's BYU insider Mitch Harper and Matt Baiamonte on Utah's legacy home of the Cougars, KSL News Radio.
Welcome on in, Cougar Nation. Good evening. Mitch Harper here with you live from Broadcast House in Salt Lake City. Man, these times are good, right? Are they not, Cougar Nation? BYU 7-0, number 11 in the AP Top 25, flying high after that big win over Oklahoma State, 38-35 on Friday night. Just a huge moment, an iconic moment in BYU football history that will be remembered for many years to come going forward. We'll be taking your phone calls here throughout the evening. Coming up around segment 2, segment 3, around 6:20-ish, we'll get to your phone calls. There's so much to unpack tonight with this show this evening, but we want to hear from you, obviously. 801-575-8255. Load up the phone lines around 6:20, and we'll get to your calls here. BYU is going to be taking on the UCF Knights this Saturday. We'll get a preview of that game. It's going to be a loaded show here for you tonight here on Cougar Nation. Matt Baiamonte will be joining us, too, a little bit later this program as Matt is with some of his family. So we'll be checking in with him remotely this evening. Every week, if you're new to the show, we hold it down here every Monday night talking BYU football here on Cougar Nation. And let's recap that Oklahoma State win with some takeaways.
Cougar Nation takeaways. Mitch and Matt analyze BYU's last week of play and what it means for the next week.
BYU 38, Oklahoma State 35. Be honest, Cougar Nation. That last 73 seconds when BYU's offense took the field, were you like me and thinking it's over? BYU's not going to pull this out. I know the players believed. I know Jake Retzlaff believed. I know everyone on the coaching staff believed. But after that defensive stand, well, lack of defensive stand that gave up 17 plays to Oklahoma State, I thought it's just not BYU's night. They're going to have a one in that loss column, and it's not going to be the undefeated ride that we thought it could be coming out of that game. But they pulled it off. And Jake Retzlaff connected with Darius Lassiter, and BYU pulled off an amazing win that, honestly, I think is one of the great wins in the Kalani Sitake era. Not because of the opponent, but just the way it finished. And that's my takeaway number one, is that BYU was clutch when they needed to be. You think about BYU football over the years and some of the great quarterbacks. You know, there's many quarterbacks, and I point to John Beck, someone who I believe is one of the all-time greats in BYU football history at a place that knows quarterback play. And for the longest time, John Beck was always viewed as someone, he didn't have it. Cougar Nation always said, he doesn't have it. He can't get it done. And he had so many games that he was close, but couldn't get over the hump. And, you know, Jake Retzlaff had moments where he couldn't get over the hump last year. Think back to Stillwater when they were in double overtime. They couldn't get the job. He did put them in position to get to overtime in the fourth quarter. But still, it was always close, but he didn't get the job done. He'd only go so far. I think the fact that he got it done in a late game situation, I just feel gives a world of confidence to BYU, because there are going to be games this season where it's not going to work well for BYU, as we saw last Friday. But now that they've got the confidence that Jake Retzlaff, of all people, of all quarterbacks, can get done in a late game situation and generate a scoring drive for this team, I just think it unlocks another gear to this group that's playing at such a high level. You don't get to 7-0 by a fluke. I'm tired of people saying this is fluky. How good is BYU? Yes, every team in college football this year has got its warts. Everyone's got their flaws. But this BYU team is really good, and it's one of the best in college football. And honestly, I think they're getting slept on a bit. They should be much higher than number 11 in the AP Top 25 poll. To me, they should be around 7 or 8. But to have Jake Retzlaff deliver in the clutch, and Darius Lassiter, who banged up his shoulder a little bit, nothing serious, earlier in the game, and for him to deliver in that moment, it was huge for BYU, because I just think that gives another layer of confidence to this team. They always had this quiet confidence that none of us understood in the summer and the player-ran practices. But now it just shows that it doesn't matter what the circumstances are thrown at this team, they are going to rise to the occasion and deliver. Whether it's a defensive rock fight in Dallas at SMU, whether it's a pretty high-scoring game against Oklahoma State where the run defense is non-existent, Jake Retzlaff and the offense will come through, even on a night where Jake is throwing some picks and Hinkler Opati's getting in the action throwing a pick as well. BYU will find a way to get it done. And I just think that does a world of good for this BYU team, that no matter the circumstances, they can rise to the occasion and pull through and get a victory. Takeaway number 2 for me centers around LJ Martin. 20 carries, 120 yards for the sophomore running back out of El Paso, Texas. LJ was brilliant. On a night where Ollie Gordon was sensational for Oklahoma State, he reminded all of us of why he was the Doak Walker Award winner last season. LJ Martin was just as good, and it showed you when you're seeing a Doak Walker Award candidate on the other sideline and you're thinking, LJ looks just as good, maybe better. That speaks to his talent, because far too often I think LJ has been slept on by BYU fans. I don't think he's been appreciated enough, and I think a lot of that was due to last season's ineptitude on the offense, that there wasn't appreciation for how good LJ can be. Coming into this year, I always felt that it was puzzling BYU didn't get a transfer portal running back. Guilty as charged. I was one of those people questioning that. It's worked out okay, but I never questioned the ability of LJ Martin being a star RB1 at BYU. He's got so much potential. I thought it was interesting today, too. Aaron Roderick on his Coordinator's Corner program said, for the first time in a while, you were seeing BYU's offense ran similar to the way it was when Tyler Algier was in the backfield. And, again, that speaks to LJ's talent. LJ's got an ability on the high end to be an all-timer at BYU. I believe that. I don't know if he's going to be a single-season rushing leader like Tyler or be an all-time career leader like Jamal Williams. He's been obviously banged up quite a bit, and he acknowledged that dealing with those injuries, maybe hurt his confidence a little bit, but now his confidence is finding its groove. And that's exciting because in that game against Oklahoma State, he looked like a running back that was fresh, and because he has not taken many hits this season. And with only 5 games left in the regular season, that's exciting that now you're catching full wind of what LJ Martin can be in this offense. Because, they're 7-0, and in only one game this year, this past Friday, did the running game put fear in an opponent. Jake Retzlaff has done his thing on the ground, and he's still BYU's leading rusher. But now you've got LJ. You've got Hinkler Opati, who's playing some good ball. Sione Aimoa, hopefully, he can play this week against UCF. It's still let's get him healthy. I would expect definitely for the Utah game he's going to be available, but he's there. You still got Miles Davis. It's a good running back unit, and that's exciting for BYU as they continue to move forward into this season. But, this year has been a theme of statements for BYU, and statement number 7 against Oklahoma State was a great one for Kalani Sitake.
Statement 7 was just hey, find a way to win. It's a good team win. I can't sit there and say like one phase in all 3 phases that one was the key, but all 3 just stuck together and we just found a way to get a win.
It was a good win too. The atmosphere was electric. I'll give you another takeaway before we get to a break. How about that atmosphere? The drone show was electric. We had intern Allie holding it down, recording that. Great content there. I love that. I thought that just added an element to the pregame atmosphere. You got Cosmo on the top of the scoreboard. I was talking to Matt Biamonte over the weekend. I thought, think about the 2 weeks of Cosmo. He goes parachute gliding. He's twirling a fire knife. He had a Houdini act. He's on top of the scoreboard at LES. Is there anything Cosmo can't do? That guy, if anyone, he needs a bye week. So give that man a break as BYU goes on the road this week to take on the UCF Knights. A little bit lighter workload on the road for Cosmo than what he does in Provo, holding it down. But it was an amazing atmosphere this past weekend as the Cougs get it done over Oklahoma State. Cougar Nation's brought to you by Central Bank, serving Utah County for over 133 years with trusted service, modern technology, and personalized care. We'll take a break. On their side, we'll check in with Matt Baiamonte, get his thoughts and his takeaways from the win over Oklahoma State, and then we'll take your phone calls coming up around the bottom of the hour as well. It's Cougar Nation, sponsored by Central Bank, right here on KSL News Radio.